So what is the playbook?
There are 4 different opportunities to jump into lead generation. And the agent can choose which lever they want to pull. And it was designed to be at the end of their 411. This was my goal this week. Here's where I fell short. Here's my opportunity to get back on track.
You don't just become a buyer's agent at KW. Like, I remember the first time that I was kind of exposed to your world, I was sitting in the audience and I was mega camp or family reunion. And then there you were on stage and there was some number. It was like, how many buyers did you represent that year?
So I did in 3 years in a row, 225 buy sides.
So think back to when you were doing that. How did you do that and maintain any sort of life balance?
Well, it's interesting. It was the idea of running the MREA model on the buy side. So, I was business partners with Dan. I was 50% of our production for, 8 years probably. And what we did is we looked at, if you look at 6 personal perspectives and self-mastery being the top one, we looked at it and said, okay, how do I operate within self-mastery? And then how do I go and operate just within my 20%? And on the buy side, it looked just like the MREA. So it was adding administrative assistant. It was adding inside sales agent or lead generation support. And then eventually it was adding showing partners. And I think a lot of buy side agents jump into getting showing assistant help instead of waiting until they have the other systems and models in place. So that was really my last piece of leverage. I remember I did 110 buy side units with no showing agent. I came in at the right time. I came in at the time that KW was really leaning into systems and models and training. And I had the ability, based on my partnership with Dan, to say, this is my lane. This is my 20%. And then how do I narrow my 20% to 10%, to 5%? And we were running a team of specialists. So we run a team dependent model. And on the buy side, what that looked like was, I'm closing at that point somewhere between 20 and 24 units a month, just buyers. And I thought I'd much rather do that with 2 showing agents, right? So 2 showing agents, each closing 10 or 12 units a month versus 10 buyer agents, each doing 2 deals a month, right? It's you're raising the level of talent for your team and the conversations that you get to have. You're also at that point getting to impact lives because those showing agents, then they're living a big life. Springfield, Missouri, they're making 6 figures, and they're the fun part of the job, right? Opening doors, helping people find houses.
So how many units do you think the team will do this year?
We'll close somewhere around 750 units this year.
So when you start closing units in that clip, right, you end up having to focus on lead gen. I mean, like, it's one thing to service the customers, and we should always remember that providing exceptional service is always number one. But as soon as you're able to do that, you kind of get this, I'm going to call it greed. You get this greed to help more people because you want to help. And so now you have to have lead gen and you have to have it scalable across the organization. I think you guys have come up with a really neat playbook idea. I want you to teach this model to us.
So the playbook are 4 opportunities for how do we dive in week by week to ensure that we hit goal. And so there are 4 different opportunities to jump into lead generation. And the agent can choose which lever they want to pull. So if we look at lead generation like a lever, they can choose the pre-described or if we look at it as like a prescription, they can pick the prescription that they like best and run that play to get them back on track.
Okay, so then let's talk about these plays. So play number 1 is the neighborhood blitz. Neighborhood blitz is a fancy way to have an awesome play to run an open house.
It is. I think open houses, when you look at them historically, they've always been successful. However, they've always been successful for those agents that ran the whole play. And what we're saying is, here's the play. We're going to take the guesswork out of it. We're going to make sure that your signs are in the yard by Friday. We're going to make sure we've got those directionals that are up. We've got flags. We've got balloons. We're door knocking. We're door knocking those 10 surrounding houses and saying, do you want to pick your neighbor? Or are you interested in just seeing your neighbor's house? What we know is if we can get the neighbors to come into the neighborhood or into the open house, we also have the opportunity to talk to them about what's going on in the market. We're going to make a certain number of contacts by email and text messages and calls. And then we're going to make sure that we're sharing it on social media. We're getting people, we're basically saying, here's the blitz, right? If you're a football fanatic, we're going to hit you from every angle that we possibly can in order to drive traffic to this open house.
Okay, so here's the brilliance, but I believe on this. So the first play is the neighborhood blitz, and it gets really prescriptive. Now, you'll be able to download this model, all of you guys watching this, so you might want to do that now so you can have this in front of you. But again, the neighborhood blitz is 5 simple steps. Open house sign writer by Friday, flag or balloons, 5 directional signs the morning of the open house, door knock 10 surrounding houses 2 days before the open house, make 50 contacts via email, messenger, call, text, always in a TCPA friendly compliant way, with an invite 2 days before the open house. 50% of those must be via phone. Then share open house to personal Facebook page 2 days before, and then do a Facebook Live the day of the open house. Now here's the thing, y'all. Whether you think that's the perfect open house system or not, I don't know whether you do. By the way, if you don't have one, I would tell you that's a great one. Yeah. The key is, what are your 5 steps to an open house? And then make that the play. Because the open house isn't Sunday from 1 to 4. The open house is the play that you ran all week called the Neighborhood Blitz. Is that right, Jen?
That's right. I mean, why do it? Why be away from your family? Why be away from your friends? Why be away from the TV on a Sunday afternoon if you're not actually desiring to get business out of it?
So good. All right. So the next play is the 2-minute drill. And we're getting real serious around FSBOs and expireds.
It's an opportunity again. We're starting to see for sale by owners not have the success that they were having before. And we're actually starting to see expired show back up. Things are not selling homes are not selling in multiple offers day one on market. And we're going to go ahead and we're going to try and make some face-to-face contacts with those sellers. How do we do a home tour? How do we map it? Let's map it. Let's go meet with 10 different people face-to-face and talk to them about what we're seeing with the value of their home in their neighborhood. And then we're going to set up a follow-up plan for them. Every time I meet with someone, regardless of if that's a listing appointment, a buyer appointment, or a face-to-face, something like the 2-minute drill, we leave with either the next appointment set or paperwork signed. So it's either set or signed at the end of every time that you meet with somebody face-to-face.
I love that. Okay, cool. Now we have the Hail Mary, and this looks like a play on kind of my SOI and throwing the long ball here. And just to give you the specifics here, the Hail Mary is 5 personal contacts referencing posts per day, 5 comments on posts with a question, 5 DMs that reference a post, 5 comments with real estate specific groups or pages, and then 5 new connections. So this is heavily reliant on me having my SOI in Facebook and me being on the old face pages and the Insta Twitters and the Vines, and for Dan, the MySpace.
Oh boy, yeah, he's clearly still on MySpace, and potentially, he's going to be on the TikTok soon. We don't know. You never know when he's going to show up.
The kids are going to, well, I know he's very big on Clubhouse. And then we have the Audible, which this is kind of neat. I'll take the wind out of the sail and then you can explain it. But the Audible is in a TCPA friendly, compliant way, 50 text message conversations, 50 social media conversations, and 100 voice conversations. Jen, I got to tell you, anybody who didn't hit their goals this month, if you just ran that play each week, you're helping a lot of people buy and sell real estate.
You're helping a lot of people, and you're connecting with people that you wouldn't normally talk to. Because you look at it, Jason, and you think, if you run that week after week, what's the second week look like? It's really pretty easy to pull those contacts for week 1. And then you have to get into week 2 and you think, okay, I'm now going to stretch my boundaries of my comfort level. Who can I talk to? Who can I dig into relationship with? And what value can I provide? It's interesting. I had a coach one time say to me, are you call reluctant or value deficient? And it was very narrowing on the focus, right? And I looked at it and I thought, I'm not call reluctant. I'll talk to anyone. What I had to lean into, though, was I can't make the same call week after week or even quarter after quarter. I've got to know what value am I going to provide that's going to give me the confidence to make those calls week after week.
So Jen, how do I coach to the model? Meaning, if I'm a team owner and if I'm an individual, and now I have my plays,
Mm-hmm.
what do I do next? Am I picking a play the week prior to? Are you picking the play for the people on your team? Walk me through sequentially how this works to implement.
So I'm not going to pick the play for a team member. What we're going to do is if you and I, Jason, are sitting in a 411 and you're behind goal, what we're going to do is we're going to establish here's where you're at. Here's what the goal was. So the actual and the goal. And we're going to say, here's our best plan to get there. What we know from what Gary teaches is authorship is ownership. I want you to pick what you're going to do. And I think what happens is when you pick your play and you and I make an agreement in the 411 that you're going to run the Audible, then we're going to write that down as here's what your next steps are. You're going to sign it and I'm going to sign it, right? It's just an initial next to it of this is what's going to happen. As the team owner though, Jason, I'm going to say to you, how can I best support you? How can I make sure that you have the data that you need to actually run this play? And when we look at it as a partnership, that you and I are in partnership and our goals are working in tandem, then what ends up happening is you've got a level of ownership in the goal. I also have that level of I'm going to hold you accountable to it. I'm also going to make sure that you have all of the training that you need in order to hit that goal. Do we need to role play something? Do we need to real play it? Do I need to make a call so you can hear what one sounds like? That is based on the level of maybe training that agent has already had. So we're going to go through it once a week in a 411, and we're going to establish for the next week what play we're going to run. Our agents that have been in the business a long time are carrying this around in their car. And what they know is they can tell if they're off goal day one. They can tell if they're off goal by the end of the day, Monday. And so what they can do is they can start to say, you know what, I'm going to start running the Audible now so that I don't get further behind, so that by next week, I potentially am back on track. And it's a minor 1 degree course correction instead of a 25% course correction.
I love that, but I want to make the argument, Jen, and feel free to push back if I got this wrong. If I'm a real estate agent out there, I think that instead of being quote unquote off goal and then running one of these plays, I can have a really nice career just by running these plays. Like if I picked a play each week and ran it, I think I'd make a heck of a lot of families happy.
Oh gosh, I think if you looked at that and you said, also, what if you said, I'm going to have self-mastery on one of these? What if I ran the Hail Mary every single week until I could do it in my sleep? And then we add in the next lever, right? Then we add in the Audible. These are not one or the other. You could run several of them at a time if you thought, I'm not going to be impacted by a shift. I'm not going to take a 20 to 30% reduction in my business this year. I'm going to take a 20 to 30% increase. And that's how I'm going to operate.
I want to ask you, and I want to switch gears just slightly because you're a team owner, you're a coach, you are a market center partner, you're all these things, and you've recently decided to become the vice president of MAPS. Thank you for doing that for all.
Thank you.
Why? Why'd you do that?
It's my opportunity to make an impact on a greater scale. And we don't always get to pick the timing. And I thought this is the right time in what's going on at KWRI, right? Getting into alignment and making sure that KWRI and MAPS are running parallel, right? That we're running together and that we're running towards the same goal. And it's an exciting time. And so fortunately, I've got a great team of leaders on the team side of things that can step in. And that gives opportunity too, right? When we step into another role or we step into another opportunity, it frees up a lane for somebody else. And it was exciting and it hit at the right time. And so really excited to be partnering with MAPS and with you and everybody else at KWRI.
I love it. Ladies and gentlemen, I love it. Go run the lead generation playbook. Go write your own or just take Jen's and Dan's. I think, again, it is brilliant in its simplicity. Jen, thank you on behalf of all of the homeowners that you've helped, but more so on behalf of the whole industry that you're about to coach. We are extremely grateful. Oh, you're still here. This was when the credits roll and you're waiting to see the cliffhanger for the next movie, just like in a superhero movie, and that would make me the superhero? Let me tell you what happens next. More great content. You want to make more money, have more time, click here. That's it.